Common Sense Radio.
You shine like a star. You know who you are. You're everything beautiful.
Here's another beauty.
Let somebody say the N-word, oh, this is disgusting. What about the people that think it every day, that act on it every day, in policy, in practice, that are saying it maybe not to players on the field, but are saying it to other patrons at parks or when they go outside in the streets? So when you say that's not what this is what we're about, we're better than this. If you are a city in America, you are a racist city. That's
really.
Yeah. If you're wondering why nobody watches ESPN anymore, Michael Smith might be one of the answers. At Kevin Jackson TBS, the Kevin Jackson Show.
Here, you found the Black Sphere.
10 to midnight on Saturdays. How you doing, friend?
Good, man. Good to talk to you, Jamie.
Good talking to you.
I didn't see that clip, but I've been following the NFL and ESPN and all these, especially after ESPN laid off 100 people.
Yeah.
And, I said I would rather watch a butch lesbian beauty pageant than the NFL. I'm done. These guys that have taken a meritocracy where all that mattered was the best athlete. I mean, that's what you wanted on your team. You want to win. You wanted the people that got in there, that hustled, that made sure that, you knew that they were in it to win it, right? And now, it's all this, it's whether it's Michael Sam or Jason Collins or the first to do this or that or a woman coach or, the first black this or the first Hispanic that. It's ridiculous. I don't care. Look, give me a team made up of all Guatemalan midgets, and if we can win a pennant for the Cardinals, I'll take it. And I don't care who the coach is. But we've allowed sports, and by the way, it permeates all of society. It's pathetic. It really is.
Yeah, and I don't want to downplay, for instance, whatever happened isolated-wise at Boston, at Fenway Park with the Boston fans harassing the Baltimore player, but the idea somehow that you can turn this thing into a larger indictment of all cities that's the kind of hackery that is turning people off, I'm sure, to ESPN and others.
It's true, but look, cities are cesspools. And there are cesspools all over the country. And contrary to what Mark Lamont Hill said, you saw what he said, just because Democrats run the cities doesn't mean that the problems caused by those cities are the fault of Democrats. That's the logic they use, right? It is the fault of Democrats. Every problem happening in the city, in any city around the country, there's not a Republican to be found. And what's funny? I don't know if you talked about this, but his comment was, well, it comes from the top. The city isn't in control of itself. It's somebody else that's doing it. Well, okay, Mark, who was in charge?
Right.
Barack Obama. These people act as if Barack Obama never existed. And it was funny. Van Jones made a similar comment. He said something about when Obama got his $400,000 to speak, he says Obama needs to go on a tour and talk to the Native Americans who are suffering from alcoholism and all kinds of issues. He needs to go on a poverty tour is what he called it. You would think Barack Obama wasn't president for 8 years. You know what Van Jones was saying is Barack Obama never went on a poverty tour. Why does he need to go now after he's president? That's the logic that these people run on, and they get mad at us, Jamie, when we bring it up.
Yeah, and I even talked to a guy who did a study about violence by county in the country, and he's found that the violence, most of it is concentrated in about half of the counties in America, and he isolated down to even St. Louis, Chicago. He said, part of the problem is these guys their leadership has dismantled elements of their police departments. They no longer police in the fashion they have done before, and that's what's helping push along some of the violence. And so it is a leadership issue.
Of course it is, and the leadership issues. Well, first of all, I agree with you on part of what you said, but I think it's actually not half the counties. I bet you could probably you could take the top 20 counties in the country, and it will constitute an overwhelming amount of crime.
Yeah, right.
Now, and the other thing was, and I know this was a study, they said something about if you pulled out the major cities in like the top crime areas, the top 20 in America, our crime rate drops to where we're one of the safest countries in the world. if you take out the south side of Chicago, North St. Louis, East St. Louis, Little Rock and whatever, we become amazingly safe. So again, the leftists create these problems, but let me tell you something, Jamie. The beautiful thing is they are having a conniption. They are doing everything they can to get rid of Trump, to marginalize our vote, to make us look like we're the stupid ones. Colbert goes on some silly rant about Donald Trump. It was as childish as they come.
Yeah.
And you know what he needed? He needed the ratings. It's funny to watch these guys have to utilize Donald Trump for their ratings because the guy, his show stinks.
Yeah.
He's moved it to a network. Now he's actually got to compete off of Comedy Central, and he's a failure because that's what liberalism is in a nutshell. It always fails.
But one show that's awesome is the Kevin Jackson Show, and we're going to be with you at 10 o'clock on Saturday night, as we always are, at Kevin Jackson TBS. As always, I appreciate you, brother.